Yeah, let's go. Okay, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode. I think this is episode 10 of Learn It Live, which means we've been doing a lot of learning and a lot of live. I got nothing else on that one. What's up today, Joe? And actually, we got Alex today. Let me bring this in, too. We got Alex in the background. What are we going to talk about today, Joe?
Today, we are talking about JetBoost. We are doing some comparisons between attributes and JetBoost. But there's a big curveball, and actually the content of this show completely changed just this morning. Just an hour or two ago, we just got a big change, but still going to be a great episode. We have a whole lot of content to cover with you, and I'm excited to have Alex here. Alex is our lead developer, the CTO at Finsweet. If you're using something at Finsweet, Alex probably built it. So this is really exciting to have him on the show. He's going to be our technical help as we go through this JetBoost content.
Yeah.
Hey.
Alex, want to say hello, share some thoughts?
I just need to say hello because Joe already said more than I need to say.
All right. Sweet. Well, we are effing sweet. We're looking forward to kind of getting into the weeds here. A lot of y'all have been asking about that. But before we do, let's say a real quick hello to everyone in the comments. What's up, Daniel? Jariah is here saying he can't wait for the breakdown. Aviv Schwartz in the house. What's up, Aviv? Max R is here. Penny in the house. Every day is a good day with Finsweet on your side. Let's go. Jeremy's in the house. Dale Jensen. What's up, Ezekiel? Fife. Philip. Let's see, whenever I'm waiting for a Webflow or Finsweet announcement, the week goes by so slow. There we go. Stephen Hilaria in the house. What's up? Magdalena in the house. Gabe, Aida, Oana. What's up, Andrew? Okay, let's jump right into this. We're not going to diddle-daddle too long today. So let's jump right in. Let's kind of set the stage. We talked about this Tuesday just a little bit. So maybe let's just kind of recap what it is that's going on here and why we're kind of doing some of this content. Joe, do you want to just give us a recap of what happened Tuesday and what we're going to jump into today?
Sure. On Tuesday, we announced that we are releasing case studies today and tomorrow. Today, JetBoost, tomorrow, Wizardry, comparing them to our systems. And this article right here explains why we did this. And really the primary reason is to educate you, to answer the question, how does attributes compare to JetBoost? How does client first compare to Wizardry? And if you have not read this article and you're going to be in this stream, make sure you take a read of that article after or right now. It really sets the stage for why we're doing this, why we're comparing these products today and tomorrow. So that's what we did Tuesday. Now it's Thursday. And the article we're looking at today is attributes versus JetBoost comparison.
Yeah. Yep. And
yeah.
However, but who wants to take the lead on kind of setting the stage for what happened this week? Because in the spirit of like we don't want anything we do here to be seen as like malicious, and our goal here is not to like attack or any of the different companies, right? So we reached out to both Chris Baggs and Timothy Ricks earlier this week and said, hey, we're going to be posting these articles, and shared links to the content with them, which led to a little bit of dialogue back and forth. And then Joe, do you want to take it from there? Because it was you the one going back and forth there.
Sure. So this was. Yeah, Chris wrote back, asked to see the article, and we went ahead and sent that to him. And just this morning, we received an email back from Chris saying, hey, there is a big update to JetBoost. And now a lot of these things are fixed. So we've been working on this content for 6 months. We ran these tests in December. Ran these tests 6 weeks. Yeah. Sorry, not 6 months. It felt like 6 months. It was 6 weeks. And yeah, December and January. And we did the tests again this morning, and Chris was totally right. All the performance numbers were different. We didn't have the same performance numbers, even that we saw last week. And we learned from Chris that he is rolling out changes on the platform. So a lot of this article is no longer valid. We're not going to be releasing this as a linked article today. We actually have to go back after this stream and we have to make some edits to it. We have to remove a bunch of performance sections. We have to better explain some other things, some other considerations, and then we will go and release it. And that may come later today, that may come tomorrow, that may come next week. So we're not going to release the article publicly, but we're still going to go over what we found because it was a very, very educational process for everybody. Mm-hmm. We really go over some really key things that make products strong. And we're just going to go through our findings here. We're going to scroll through the article. You don't get the link to it, but you'll see where we're going with this and why we're teaching this to you.
Yeah, and one of the things this goes to highlight, and I'm going to pass this to Alex here, is that we're all just kind of pushing this industry forward, and it's all moving so fast. So literally, we've been doing all this testing and working up all these benchmarks and preparing this content, and literally within the last week, this stuff changes. And so we want to be honest with all of you, and this just goes to kind of showing how much competition pushes the industry forward. Right. And so, Alex, I wanted to kick this off to you. You had mentioned a little something about how we're all kind of looking at each other to see what's going on. And that's, things get better and you stack on what other people are doing. So thoughts there on just some of that and how this is, at the end of the day, just really going to make everyone and make all the products in the space better.
Yeah, sure. So obviously, the first thing that you do whenever you're planning a product, whatever it is, if it's a big product, if it's a simple JavaScript library, whatever, the first thing that you do is you check out what other people have built, right? Because you don't want to be creating something that somebody else already built, or at least you want to see how the person of that team built it and what can you offer differently for that product, right? So obviously, the first time that we were planning about rebuilding the entire CMS library in attributes, I went through all the competitors, especially JetBoost, obviously, because they were at least, and they are today still a big player in the game. So we wanted to know exactly how JetBoost did things and how could we improve it, right? And actually, after doing this and obviously implementing attributes, we knew what were the main differences. So this article was based on the initial feedback that I got when I was implementing attributes. And this is a thing that you always do. You first check the competition and you try to be better than them, right? So it's you can expect the same thing to happen again with your competition, because if you have a competitor that just got better than you somehow, the first thing that you're going to do is to check out what they did, and how can you step up the game with them. So we don't know exactly if JetBoost implemented these updates based on attributes, but we know that we were performing better than them, and then they step up the game. So this is something that we can always expect in the industry. And this is a good thing, especially for the users, because the users, they just get cool updates. Whatever the product they are using, they just the products that they're using, they got better and better because of this competition. So yeah, I think this is a cool thing that happened, and opens more things to do, more challenges to solve.
Yeah. I want to jump right on the back of that, because Alan Connor is saying here, okay, the difference now is JetBoost equals paid, attributes equals free. This is not this is not the case. There's still a lot of differences, which we're going to cover as we go through here. And so we still want to point out, we're going to spend the rest of this episode kind of going through all of those nuances. So yeah, some of the performance has changed for sure, but there's still a lot of things that differentiate the products. And we want to spend the rest of the episode kind of going through those things. We just wanted to kind of clarify that we didn't want to go out and publish what was a big discrepancy in performance and put that up as a piece of content that then the community starts looking at while JetBoost is in fact making adjustments to that. It just didn't seem fair for us to publish and move forward with our original track today. So we're going to modify that just a little bit, but there are still some key differences And like Penny's saying here, competition's key to building better products. You can never rest on your laurels. And Dale, kudos for adjusting so quickly. Your story still stands up for sure. So, and yeah, Jeremy, appreciate that. I appreciate the integrity of Finsweet. More companies have this approach. Yeah, we spent the whole morning, the last couple hours, Alex, Joe, and I just kind of scrambling, figuring out what the best way to approach this was. And so hopefully y'all will appreciate as we go through some of this to see just how things are going to change up a little bit. So let's yeah, go ahead, Joe.
I'd love to add a comment to this grow stronger concept. As Alex was speaking, we see some comments in here about growing stronger, about improving the entire ecosystem. This is absolutely happening. You'll see when we go through this article, we're going to hit an accessibility section, and attributes is very, very accessibility focused, and JetBoost is not. And Chris, in our communication this morning, said that on the next update of JetBoost, he's going to include accessibility updates. So through doing this piece, through doing this article, we are pushing our competition to go and implement these web standards. So this is a true example of this actually picking each other up. So yeah, I just wanted to call that out. That's really cool. That makes me very excited because the accessibility stuff, that's something that we're trying to push ecosystem wide. We want everybody in Webflow to be focused on this, including our competition.
Nice. Okay, so without further ado, let's jump in. That kind of sets the story. We talked a little bit about pushing the industry forward. So let's kind of give an introduction to both of the filtering solutions. Obviously, these are the two most popular filtering solutions in Webflow. There are some other filtering solutions that people can use, but I think these are kind of the two core players here. So who wants to take that, the setting these things up there?
I'll take it. Okay. JetBoost offers real-time search dynamic filtering for Webflow. Attributes does the same thing. Filtering for Webflow. And that's what we're comparing here. And a disclaimer, if you do not know Finsweet, we are the creators of attributes. This is not a third party examining these two products. We are Finsweet. We have built attributes. And of course, we are writing this comparing the two products. So that's the disclaimer of this one. We even get a disclaimer in on Learn It Live. That's a rare one. Usually that's just for growth.
That's right.
Okay, and now let's get into these features.
Maybe one thing to point out is that we usually refer to filtering in these cases, but we should specify we're talking about the whole bag, loading items, sorting them, filtering, and all these other actions that are not reflected on the filtering name. But yeah.
Great. Okay. So let's run through some of the features and comparisons and kind of take a look at here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna look at the features of kind of the platforms, and we're gonna look at which how they support what and what elements. This has been updated also as well with some feedback from Chris today. So again, this is like as fresh as you can get as far as this stuff's still accurate. Obviously the performance scores are what we're going to need to update, but all this stuff here that we're going to look at, the setup and configuration. So we're going to look at how each product is set up. And then we're going to talk just a little bit about what we thought about performance, and then a couple other little nuances as we wrap this up with some Q&A. So Alex, did you have something to say there?
Well, I think that we can say the things that JetBoost fixed while we tell people what was actually being wrong and how did they improve it, because this is a really good chance to learn how to improve whatever you're building.
And about how some of this works. So I think we're going to learn a lot today about how the browser renders data. We're going to learn about the DOM tree, which is something that I didn't know anything about before reading these articles. Roll up your sleeves, grab some popcorn, and let's get to it. So let's jump in right into these features comparison.
Okay, first, some filtering features. Both support radios and checkboxes. The difference is attributes is going to automatically use unique names and IDs when using those checkboxes in a collection list. So we have a collection list, we have that checkbox or radio in there. We make sure that the ID is unique for each one. And that's just part of building on the web. Unique name, unique ID for items. Next, moving down, select both supported. And we also have an integration with our custom select past the native select. That'll give you a custom design select. Now we have the link elements. Now this is where a lot of accessibility comes in. The link elements are supported by JetBoost. It does not follow accessibility attributes to make these link elements accessible. So we may see an update from JetBoost if Chris is going to address these things. Now, attributes does not support link elements, and we don't support it on purpose. We have an article in our resources center. If you go to finsweet.com/attributes/resources, there is a featured article that explains exactly why we do not have link blocks available, why we use form elements right up there in the hero, why we use form elements to build filters in Webflow. This will go into the logic. It's very accessibility focused, again, on why we use form elements, and we don't support that on purpose. Okay, other types, not supported range, date, and color in JetBoost. Attributes is going to support range, date, and color. We also have the integration with our range slider that lets you completely customize a range slider in Webflow. Very cool. And moving down.
Maybe one thing that we should point out is that when we talk about other types, we mean like any other type, because HTML has many other types that are built in that are not usually, are not regularly used in websites, but we still support them because we just support native form elements. That's it. That's the main key. And that's why also in the end of that table, we say that we support any other third-party library that builds on top of a HTML input or whatever other form element, like Flat Picker. This is a custom date picker that's very popular. So the main key is that we build on top of form elements, no matter what form element is that, we just support it.
Nice. Yeah, and that's an important thing to read is why we use the form elements. This is I think we covered this in one of the streams kind of as an overview, but this is something everyone should read as to why these form elements are used rather than the link blocks. That was super helpful for me to understand this here as well. And this doesn't define Aria. I want to bring a comment here. Aria, Fife is saying our Aria is spelled incorrectly. Alex, can you explain what an Aria attribute is and why that's not misspelled?
So the Aria attributes are specific to screen readers. So when you're using the website with a screen reader, which usually is software that sits on top of your browser, this software is just going to read out loud whatever you have on the website. You can navigate through the website, and whatever you focus, whatever you type, whatever you click on, whatever you do, it's going to tell you what's happening. And this is specific to for blind people, because blind people can still surf on the web. And with this Aria attributes, what we're doing is we're telling people, we're telling the screen readers what to say whenever some action happens on the site. And this is actually one of the main keys why we're using form elements, because form elements are natively accessible for screen readers. Whatever you do, the browser is going to say it with the correct format, and it's going to say to help the user correctly, and you don't have to worry about it, about making sure that the element is accessible by setting up all these attributes.
Nice. And Fife's responding there that, whoa, we learn new things every day. Yeah, this is why this is Learn It Live. This is why we're still running through this in detail, because I think we're all going to learn a little bit about how the web works and how Webflow interacts with the web, and a couple different ways that you can do filtering and sorting. So as you see, when we talk about how one system's set up versus the other in this next section, once we get past these features comparisons, you'll see that there's like 2 different ways that these filtering is happening. And that was interesting for me, just to see like, hey, there's a way that this can happen on the front, there's a way that this can happen on the back, and we're going to explain some of that. And so this is just going to be good learning in general for folks who are interested about web stuff. So sorry, back into the comparison here, back into these these features.
Okay, next, the supported features. We have CMS filter UI elements. We can both build a UI to create filters, supported. Static filter UI elements, not supported in JetBoost, supported in attributes. Attributes can be static based, it can be Webflow CMS based. There is no limitation there. But on the JetBoost side, you cannot work in static. Not supported initial state. We have a supported initial state on attributes.
Sorry. These initial states should be updated. I just remember that Chris said today that they were supporting it. I just remember that. Correct. I forgot to update this one.
Okay.
Good catch.
Supported.
Yeah, sorry about that. Yeah.
Okay, initial state, both supported. Results count, supported and supported. And that just shows how quick these changes can be. That's, we ran these tests in December and January, and a bunch of these things are already updated. So this is amazing how it works.
And maybe we need to add that like a last updated at the top of the article or something like that.
Yes.
So that people can understand if you're finding this, 2 years from now, hey, you got to go find the new one, or, because literally week by week things get changed. So, okay, back to the.
Next, we have active tags. This is showing active filter tags that you can stop filtering, that shows the active filtering. Both supported. JetBoost requires an additional CMS collection list to manage the active tags. And we use more of a template-based approach outside of Webflow CMS. And we have a lot more support for managing that active tag state. Next, we have scroll anchor. This is not supported in attributes. So in attributes, you can have a scroll anchor that when you go and run the filter, it anchor scrolls back up to the top to make sure the content doesn't jump or the user is not seeing any results. Next, we have reset button, both supported. Requires stacking multiple CSS classes for reset all. And we gave that one a check because we do not like class stacking in Webflow. And everything that we do works in attributes, and a lot of JetBoost is working with classes. Next, we have matching all or any values, both supported on both platforms. And then we have the range, a range filter. This is not supported on JetBoost. This is supported on attributes. Great. We have date fields, not supported and supported by attributes. Both support filter query params, both support highlight, but we have JetBoost support for just text inputs, and we have support for all inputs. So that includes something like a radio button if you wish, or a checkbox if you wish. Okay, next we have filter active state, both supported. We gave an X for not being able to rename that class. You can pick any class name in attributes to make sure you're following that clear and organized active system. Keep a global active system for your site. Next, we have debouncing, not supported, supported.
This was another one I think that
this was supported.
Yeah, no,
it's supported, but there's like it's not editable. There's like a
not editable.
Yeah.
Yes.
Could it be that you're looking at an old version
of this?
Yeah, maybe
I may have not. There we go.
There we go.
Webflow, okay. Yeah, that one. Yeah.
There we go. Alex is like, no. I made these changes, y'all. Let's go back and see. Is this other one too? Where was it? The initial. Nope, it's still.
No, that one I missed it. That one I missed it.
Okay. All right. So there we go. Sorry, Chris. We're trying to be fair. That was a simple mistake there. Screen refreshed. Okay. Filter on click, I think, is where we were.
Filter on click, not supported, supported. In attributes, you can choose if the filtering happens instantly or after a filter results.
Can we go back just a second to the bouncing? Because
Sure.
one thing that you didn't mention is that so JetBoost has a fixed debouncing for all inputs. So wherever you type, you click on a checkbox, whatever you do, it's always the same debouncing. But in attributes, you can change this behavior to whatever value you want on whatever filter you want, just individual filters. So maybe you want a specific text field that you want people to be typing for 3 seconds, I don't know, to wait for that. You can just be granular on every single filter element.
Nice.
And that's great because you may want different debouncing values based on the type of input. Is it type your question input? If it's a type your question, that's going to be more than, let's say, a number input. So yeah, hey, really nice to customize.
Hey Joe, can we answer this comment real quick here? Let's see, where is it? Sophia, because you said something about not working with classes, and Sophia asked, why don't you like working with classes? Can we explain a little bit of that? And I don't know if Alex, you want to jump in on that, or if Joe's the right one, but can we explain why we don't do that?
Yeah, I started that comment, so I'll come in first. It's not that we don't like working with classes, it's that we don't like stacking classes. That if we have an element on the page, we can have one class. We can have maybe an add-on class, but what if we have a third level, maybe a fourth level? Now with that stacking, it's hard to manage our lower level classes. And let's say we have an element that requires 2 classes to start, and then we have the add-on class that we need for the active state. Now we have an additional stacked class. So yeah, this is not like a deal breaker. This is not the worst thing. We just think that using attributes, it's a lot more clean for this type of implementation.
Yeah.
Class naming too, because not everyone names a class the same. There are many naming systems, and we don't care about that. You just name the classes however you want.
Yeah, that's the other thing too. I think if we remember with like the CMS library, when you copy and pasted that code was referencing a class. I don't know if this has anything to do with that, where that also created some confusion where, the class name had to be exactly perfect if you messed that up in that process. So not working with classes, does that have anything to do with that, or am I completely off base there?
Well, in that case, you were defining in JavaScript the class name, so you still had some room to change them. But in the case of attributes, which is just plug and play, we would need to say, hey, you need to name this class this way, and there's no way of changing it because things are going to break otherwise. We don't want to do that. We want people to be able to choose. So yeah, I was about to say a client for a joke, but I'm gonna keep it.
Nice. Okay. And we forgot to remind folks, but just so it doesn't happen abruptly, Alex may have to leave us early. So if we see Alex drop out, just a heads up, we know that's happening. He hasn't been abducted. Okay, so we're at, I think, filter on click or toggle filters. Did we get through these?
Let's do that. We have toggle filter supported by attributes. You can set up a standalone toggle and it works with the filter. It is possible with JetBoost using a booster. It uses a sorting booster. It is not possible to use an active toggle together with active sorting. Only one can be applied at once, sorting or toggle. So the toggle works in the sorting mechanism. So you can't have 2 sortings at once. In attributes, you can have multiple toggles and sorting as well.
Toggles are basically checkboxes.
Yeah, checkboxes on off.
Yeah.
Just like a toggle, you would have it as a Webflow CMS field. Next, we have list animation, no controls on JetBoost, and we have duration and easing controls in attributes. Okay, next we have the sorting. Select both supported buttons. We are both supported. No accessibility for the buttons or drop downs here for JetBoost. And attributes is going to support that as well as the accessibility add-ons to that. Okay, next we have item limit. From JetBoost's dashboard for performance, sorting is limited to 2,000 items. We cannot increase the limit at this time, and we do not have a limit on that. We have really stress test very high number of sorting, and yeah, no problem with attributes. Okay, next we have pagination, both supported inside JetBoost custom setup wizard in their dashboard, and attributes, this is direct in Webflow in the collection list settings. Then we have items on page, again, defined in JetBoost dashboard versus attributes inside Webflow platform. Next, in previous buttons, both have support. Nice. Elements, custom buttons, or links. Attributes uses the native Webflow next previous buttons. We released a lot of content when we first released attributes saying how we wanted to work into Webflow as a platform as much as possible, be as native as possible to the platform. And that's why you see we're integrating with the element settings. We're integrating with the native next previous buttons. And yeah, we have you turn on this setting by turning on your pagination inside Webflow Designer. And then accessibility for the previous next, none of these are added to the custom buttons or links, and we have these native Aria labels that work with screen readers. And then page buttons, this is a full not supported. We have a lot of customizations for page buttons. You can set the amount of pages inside, the sibling pages, the outer pages. We have accessibility on that. We have a full, really a full control power of your pagination user interface. And there is no support on that for JetBoost.
Nice.
Okay, and then we have page count here. Scroll anchor. Yep, page count, both supported. Again, just some accessibility X's here on the JetBoost side.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest thing to point out here. It's a lot of the stuff that's different is really that accessibility stuff, right? It's the support for the native form elements. Alex, you want to jump in and address some of that?
Yeah, I was about to say that we try to take advantage of all the native elements on Webflow. So on Webflow, when you're building a collection list, you already have pagination in there. So why create new buttons to switch pages when we already have native buttons? Why create new page counters when we already have those buttons? So everything that we can keep native, we do. You don't need to add a new element on top of that. We just do it for you.
Right. Nice. Okay. Let's see.
All right, let's.
Yeah, and I think we talked about this stuff.
Some animation, so. List animation, item animation not supported, infinite threshold, the query params. Okay, both supported. Let's get to the setup configuration, and then we'll touch on the performance comparison. The setup configuration, one big change here is JetBoost requires Webflow CMS API authentication, and attributes has no Webflow account or API access required. We're going to talk a lot more about this at the end of the episode and how that relates to a paid product versus a free product. So this row right here is an important one. This is a big, big change here. And the next one, location for setup in JetBoost dashboard. The attributes setup is inside Webflow Designer. It's all done inside. You refer to the docs, all the work is in the dashboard. In the designer. Configuration, boosters are created for each feature. Custom classes are created for each booster. Classes are stacked on collection lists to define the configuration. So this again leads to the class stacking, things that we can't really custom name and make clear what they're doing. We rely on very clearly named attributes that are right there on the element. And you can use classes for styling and then attributes for functionality, for communicating to the JavaScript what needs to happen here.
Sorry,
Code
Joe.
installation.
Sorry, Joe. Hold up. Sorry. Just hit 100 viewers. So.
Oh, wow.
Yep.
Nice.
104 concurrent. So
cool.
All right, you can continue.
Nice.
It's just tradition now. It's going to happen every time.
Yeah.
Until we set a new benchmark, and then we'll bump it up.
Yep. Nice. Okay, great. We have code installation. Code can be installed in any page for optimal performance. Code can be installed in any page for optimal performance. Yeah, that looks the
Yeah, that
same
was the
there.
same. Yeah, this is an edit that we did after Chris
Okay.
pointed
Yep.
it out. Yeah.
Okay, we are clearly talking about classes versus attributes. Of course, we are fans of using HTML attributes. And these are all similar things here. Let's continue scrolling down. And great, let's get into this performance comparison. So before we scroll through any of this, I want to make it very clear to anybody who's just getting here that this is not valid anymore. This performance comparison was done over a 6-week period in December and January, and these are the results that we got. However, this morning, we got some communication from Chris Baggs. We sent the article to him, and he came back and said, a lot of these things are fixed. And when we went to go do additional tests this morning, we found that was true. So we're going to show this to you to show you the important things that we have in mind, to show you that, hey, these are important things when you're comparing products. But just know that the results are not valid. When we release this, we're going to remove all of these tests and we're going to release it without the performance comparison. Did I miss anything before we jump into this?
No, I think other than just kind of explaining that, we wanted to do that to show why we thought this was important to point out, and how, you know, you'll see how much JetBoost will improve in performance when you see some of the updates they've made. And so, again, kudos to Chris and the community in general. This goes back to pushing things forward, pushing the community forward, and pushing the product forward. At the end of the day, you all win. Right, so whether you're using JetBoost or attributes, you win, you know. And so we're here to give you as good information as we can about the products we're building, and hopefully give you a little bit of a snapshot of the ecosystem. And you know, after that, it's up to you all to kind of figure out where you want to go. So, Alex, any thoughts on that?
Yeah. No. Yeah. I agree. One thing that to point out is that now both products in terms of performance are mostly on same level. So we're not saying that JetBoost got better or it's still worse than us, but we can say that they are both pretty similarly in terms of performance.
Correct. Yeah, so you'll see when we update this, you'll see the performance versus what you'll see here in this little sneak peek is going to be significantly different. What the biggest difference is going to be, obviously the paid versus free, but also the accessibility and the best practices when you're talking about using those form elements for filtering, the versatility of being able to use sliders and date pickers and some of those other elements. And then obviously if accessibility is something's important to you, if you're building these projects for clients that you know, have high levels of requirements for accessibility, just something you may want to keep in mind. So as we go through that, just know that, you know, some kind of mid-show disclaimers there. So and we got a crazy little viewer spike there. I'm not sure what happened, but
yeah, who's talking about
who
this?
retweeted
Someone
this
tweeted
thing?
this out.
It just went from like 80 to 150, like 140. So anyway, thanks everyone for hanging with us. Yeah, make sure you like that video. Make sure you like the video just to help more people find it. So
Joe, you could take the chance now to announce how cool are the scripts embedded on the page. How cool are they highlighted and how we did it with the new solution?
Yeah, as we were writing this article,
you should scroll down. I mean, for Reimer, so we can show
where at?
the new attribute solution. You just show a
scroll down.
script.
Yeah, start scrolling through. Here we have code blocks, and we found that when we were creating these articles in rich text, we needed a lot of customizations. So we wrote a whole set of new attributes specific for rich text. These colored blocks can be fully integrated in rich text, and that attribute was created to create this article. So even though we're removing this whole part and this doesn't really apply, again, a win for the community to be able to see, to be able to get this new superpower inside rich text.
We talked about that the other day too, how like sometimes you just stumble into other solutions while you're trying to build something and you don't even know where you're headed. You're just trying to do something cool and then you just, oh shit, what is that? You know?
Yeah.
So yeah, that's one of those moments. Okay.
All right, let's talk about the setup basics here. So if we scroll up a little bit, we'll see that when we add our JetBoost script to the page, JetBoost is going to pull in a whole bunch of other scripts and resources to the page. So we add this and we scroll down a little bit, and it's going to generate this. This is the actual output, the full output of JetBoost when it's added to the page. And then if we scroll down to the attribute side, we have a package setup where every single functionality that you need on your site is a package. And you add these tiny little packages so you're only loading exactly what you need. JetBoost is loading for you a lot of other things that aren't necessarily required. Maybe they're required for you, maybe they're not. We're trying to bring in and load only the things that we need. If we don't need it, we don't want it loading on the page. And this is one of the key things of the setup basics that we're proud of. We love the fact that we're only loading exactly what needs to be loaded. Alex, did I miss anything here?
No, that's it. So just use whatever you need. No need to load it.
Right.
Hey, just watching the time and knowing that we wanted Alex to be here when we explained some of that DOM tree stuff, do we want to skip forward and have him do that, and then we can jump back into anything else while we go?
Yep.
And we're going to cross 200, by the way. We're at 180 right now.
Whoa.
So, Alex, let's talk a little bit about these. What was it? The not the load. Where is it? The DOM size and tree here. Let's talk about that, and then we can go back to anything else we cover.
Yeah, sure. So, I mean, this specific part of the article was around the DOM size and why does it matter when you're managing something on a page. And the reason is before JetBoost updated the product, right now this is no longer happening. JetBoost loaded all the items of the collection list in your page. So you had 20 pages with 100 items. All those pages were loaded and all those items were added to the collection list of that page, right? So then you have a collection list with 2,000 items, and the browser needs to manage all of that. What happens is that the browser needs to take up some resources to manage your pages. So every time that something happens, the browser needs to process the page to know exactly how to show it, right? So the fact that having 2,000 items in your collection page was a big amount of items that the browser needed to process. This impacted a lot on performance. You could see, I don't know if we can show one of those videos, although they are no longer valid, that it was quite common for a page with a big list to freeze. Because once you start adding things, the browser needs to process all of that, and the page just froze. You tried to use it, but you couldn't because the browser was still processing all that information. So what you need to be aware of is that adding a lot of items on the page, it's not for free. And we're not talking about adding a couple divs. So it's not about adding an extra div for adding a class. Which usually that's a conversation like, hey, why are you using this div? You could be tagging your classes in here. We're talking more about like, we're talking thousands of items. Like you need to be aware that the browser needs to process them. And the way that it processes them, it's by a bunch of steps that it does. I don't know if we should dig into it, but probably, yeah. Can I move forward?
Yeah, take it wherever you want.
Yeah, can you just focus on the section, Reimer, so we can explain it?
Which one? Tell me. Yeah, tell me.
DOM education.
What is it?
DOM education. DOM education.
Let's see, DOM size.
I think that it's in rendering paginated items.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, correct. Yeah, and this actually, maybe it's going to help people have a mental model of how the browser handles things.
Hang on, I lost my spot, so I tried to zoom in.
Rendering paginated items. Yeah, so there's a concept, there's a thing that we usually say the programmers, but everyone should be aware of, which is the DOM, the document object model. And this is what the browser interprets of your page. So when your page, your HTML, it's coming from the server, it's just a string. It's just a bunch of characters that are all together pasted inside a file. And the browser needs to convert that into something that can show to you, right? This is where the document object model comes in. Here in this picture that you're seeing right now, this is what the string that you got from the server is converted to. Every single element has some properties, some styles, some IDs, some other attributes, some maybe it has some function, some methods that you could trigger on that element, and all of that it's managed by the browser. So the more elements that you have, the more things that the browser is going to need to process, right? And then if you move a little bit down, primer, it's very interesting to know the exact, not yeah, that in that list, it's very interesting to know the exact process that the browser takes when we are doing something. Okay, from the moment that the browser wants to show you something, it needs to take some things into consideration. And these are these 4 steps that we have in here, because the browser needs to first know how elements need to be styled. Then the browser needs to know how elements should be placed in a layout. And maybe if you've run Lighthouse before, maybe you're familiar with the concept of layout shifting. This happens when something moved from the layout. Some element no longer fits somewhere, so it needs to move. This is what the browser is processing. And the browser needs to paint that, and then while it's painting it, the browser needs to make sure that everything that's painting is on the correct order, right? And all this process happens every single time that something changes on the page. If you have 2,000 items on a collection list and you need to change those items, you're going to block the browser because it needs to run all of these in here. And this is what happened previously with JetBoost, which right now it's fixed, so props to them. Attributes never had the issue because from the beginning we were not rendering the items, we were having everything in memory, and maybe we can talk more about this in a second. So be aware of the size of your page. If you're loading a lot of items from an external API, or you're having like 10 10 collections on the same page, and all collections are having 100 items, and at each item it's having an image and a bunch of elements inside, and you're getting a huge page that's going to affect the performance of your page because the browser needs to handle all of that. Be smart about that.
So a lot of things happen when that change occurs, when the filter process happens. So many different processes happen. So naturally, if you have less items in the DOM, there's just going to be less total processes that need to happen. And that's why we called out that section. That is very important. The speed at which something filters, the speed at which something loads. With attributes, we're always very, very mindful of having the least amount of elements, the least amount of attributes, the shortest and quickest and easiest path to that end result. So yeah, that's why from the beginning we were very serious about DOM size. If you want to know more about this, if you want to understand a little bit more, we touch on it in the attributes intro video. The introduction to attributes, we explain how we are very mindful of that, and we're only showing exactly what needs to be shown.
Nice. Okay. Alex, this is just a time check on your side.
Yeah, I'm going to jump off in 2 minutes.
Okay.
So just cool. We continue, and I'm going to say goodbye and close.
All right, he's got some dance classes to go to, or dancing. Yeah, we gotta reveal some of that one of these days to the audience here. So, okay, so where do we jump to here? I know we kind of jumped off of our outline. We were going to talk a little bit about performance, but we jumped into the DOM stuff there a little bit. Do we want to go back to anything that we skipped over to kind of dive here, or do we want to maybe answer any questions? I don't want to get too deep, but
Yeah, I would love to go over the section where we talk about filtering on a slow internet connection.
Yeah.
Okay.
And by the way, one thing that we didn't mention before when we were talking about packages and attributes is that one thing that we make sure when we're splitting up all the functionalities is that every single functionality, it's individual. It doesn't affect other functionalities. So imagine that you have a page where you have CMS filter, CMS load, CMS sort, and all that stuff. And something happens and something doesn't load. Like maybe CMS sort doesn't load. It doesn't matter because everything is separate. And we try to not only split the size of the packages, but split the actual functionality so it doesn't affect other things. And this is a cool thing that we should show someday, like how everything couples together when they load on the page, or if they don't load, they don't affect, instead of having a monolithic script that handles everything and needs to process all everything that's happening on the system.
Nice. Alex getting a little love here. Pablo Cortez for the explanation on the DOM. And Penny and Caleb are both asking, will this information section still be in the final article? And I'd love to learn more. Yeah, we're gonna include a lot of this in the article when we publish. We just want to be fair and update the performance stuff. So we don't want to publish this with the false performance stuff and have that be out there publicly until we get a chance to address that. But all this other stuff will be in there. So this will all be available. And I'd imagine by Monday this will be live. We'll update everyone tomorrow. We're doing the wizardry comparison. So that's going to be great if you're around tomorrow to jump in on that. But yeah.
Jumping off.
Okay.
Thank you, guys.
See you, Alex.
And
Thanks, Alex.
see you tomorrow. Thank you.
All right. See ya.
Thank you.
Okay.
Cool.
Yep. So we can go actually to this here. Okay. Yep, we can jump right back into this, Joe, and wherever you want.
Okay. Let's see. I am trying to find the section in here that talks about the slow internet connection.
Is it in the real world or no? Let's see.
I can explain it, but we have a really nice view on it.
Yeah, if you wanted to start, I can probably find it in the background here while you go.
Sure.
I think it's,
Okay.
it's in the benchmark here, I think.
Filtering, maybe filtering and sorting items. Towards the bottom. Yeah. Okay. So one of the big differences of these two platforms is the use of the Webflow CMS API and the no use of Webflow CMS API. It's a big difference. When you sign up for JetBoost, you have to authenticate your Webflow account, and then they have access to the CMS items. As opposed to attributes, there is no authentication needed, and we have everything that we need on the page. On the page load, all of the processes happen. The approach that JetBoost takes requires that they are going to go to their server to find out how to filter and then come back with that information to run the filter. So I click on red. JetBoost is going to do some communication with their server and say, okay, based on that selection, we're going to filter this way. Now, if you are on a fast internet connection, that's no problem, right? This is not a good internet connection. We're fine with this. This is a fairly quick process on the web. However, if you have a slow internet connection, if you are on mobile and you have a low mobile data connection, the round trip from clicking red to going to JetBoost server to coming back to the site and running that filter may be delayed. And when we did some tests with the, what's it called? The slow network connection, Reimar, let's even blow that video up.
Yep.
So we can see it. It just took a little bit too much time for that filter to react. There was a delay of 500 milliseconds, which I believe is very high. We want this to happen instantly. This needs to be something that, I click red and red happens. So this could be a downside, and this is a core difference. CMS API using a server to manage this versus no CMS API and using the front end to manage this. Now, that's a performance part of it, but this actually plays right into the pricing. This costs money. When you are going and running that JetBoost filter, it costs money to go and decide what is filtered. So because of that, there is a pay on it. You have to pay for that. It uses a server. You are holding your CMS API key with JetBoost. There's a whole dashboard involved with that. With attributes, we don't need any of this. This is completely on your own. It's a separated solution, and we don't require any server to go and work based on your page views. We are hosting with a CDN that is global. It has many redundancies. We can go to the CDN section as well if you want to bring back that article.
Yep.
This plays in well with it. This is another reason why we're able to just offer it for free. We have these great services. We have JS Deliver CDN that is going to let us host these files and create redundancies for us. This is our network of available delivery of our file. So if something goes down, it's still going to work with another CDN provider. With this, we can offer it for free. Of course, we could put a paywall on attributes. We are totally able to do that. $5 a site or whatever, an agency account, and it would still be really valuable. But we don't need to do that because it doesn't cost us any money to run. It costs us money to maintain it, of course, but there's no server there. So because of that, we offer it for free. Of course, this is good marketing for us. This is a way to really engage with the community. But the reality is we built it in a way that doesn't require us to charge money.
Nice. Yeah, and there will be other places for us to charge the money, you know, as
Yes.
we roll out. Like there's lots of other places. And so these are kind of some of those things that everyone needs on a site. And one of the things we don't like about a lot of what the modern web stack is the nickel and diming. If you look at the WordPress ecosystem, every plugin's another $50, it's another $10, it's another $100 a month, and it's like, right? And so like maybe inside of our ecosystem, maybe inside of the Webflow world, you know, we can do things a little bit different. I don't know. So who knows what this will inspire? And everyone's got their own business model. Right, Chris is a solo guy, started out building this product on his own. I think now he's got a little bit of financial backing and he's got a little team around him. But this started as just a one-person crew, whereas, you know, Finsweet has had some different resources on hand. And obviously you can see the different approaches, right? One's happening on the front, one's happening on the server side, different services, different processes, as lots of different implications. And this just goes to show the diversity of what can happen inside of the digital space. So I think we're going to see a lot more of this as things progress in this ecosystem. Philip Trott's making a joke here that Timothy Ricks is going to email us tomorrow with all the updates. Okay. Somebody asked before about switching from JetBoost to attributes. Do we know anything about that process? Like how difficult that is?
Well, it doesn't, it's a completely different process. So there's no direct, hey, these are the quick steps. You just go to attributes documentation. And if you have a JetBoost set up, you could probably remove all of those classes from the JetBoost elements and just start applying attributes. It likely has the same structure.
Yeah.
And yeah, our documentation really lets for any type of elements. So you may even find that when you make the switch, you can now turn on features or turn on input elements that weren't possible previously.
Nice. Here is a question from Sophia Joe. I currently use JetBoost, and one of the things on my wish list would be the ability to show users the number of items per tag to avoid a no results page. Is this possible with attributes?
The amount of items per filter, is that?
I think per tag, yeah, per filter,
yeah,
right.
Per
so
filter
it would would have to read how many items match that filter and then display those in a tag somehow? What?
You know what? That's a great question, Sophia. We were working on this exact feature right as we were launching. And to be honest, I don't know if we launched it. We had a little bit of trouble. We were close, but we never actually did it. So, you know what? Now that you asked this, Alex is going to see it. And who knows, maybe we're going to go release this. Or maybe it's available. Actually, Reimar, let's bring up another question. Let me just check this.
Yeah. Okay, let's see. Demetrius is asking, Alex, can we have an SSR like page transition speed for all pages, like how fast the filters refresh? I don't know. That might be a question we have to pass on to Alex. I'm not sure if we can answer that here just now. Pablo Cortez, thank you for all the effort. Yeah. Let's come back to this view too. One thing I love about JetBoost is the immediate gratification you get when you've set something up right. However, with attributes, it either works or it doesn't. That's good feedback. That onboarding process, I think with JetBoost, you kind of get some green lights when it checks and makes sure things are going all right. Whereas attributes, because it's happening in the designer, it kind of has, you got to just set the elements and it either works or it doesn't. So yeah, we'll pass that feedback along and maybe there's something we can do to help that along over time.
And I'll come back to officially answer your question, Sophia. That is not live. We do not have the ability to do that. However, a lot of it's built. We decided to work on that once we do another big sprint for attributes. So not right now, but we are working on that.
Nice. Okay. Elchin is asking, is it possible to add auto suggest function to the search? That would be a complete modern filter.
I don't know. I mean, it's possible. Sure. Anything's possible. But no, this is not something that we're actively looking at right now.
Nice. Okay. All right. Well, I think that,
Cool.
I think that becomes it. I am a little, let's see. Let's see. We got 134 here. See if we can get a few more likes on the video as we're watching here. We appreciate that. Nick Jones says, I just popped in to say I used CMS Nest last night on a project for the first time. Worked like a charm. Will be a massive UX value for the client. Yeah, great to hear that.
Nice.
Great to hear that.
Any other comments? Last chance for anybody to put comment.
Forever hold your peace.
And that's it. This is the last of a lot of this JetBoost article. We're going to start shaving this again, and by Monday, we will have this completely out live for you.
Nice. Okay, so we'll make those updates. We will be back tomorrow with Alex as well for another installment, a Friday special edition of Learn It Live, where we're going to dive deep into the differences between client first, fluid, responsive, and the wizardry method. A lot of you have been asking about that as well. And so we've got another super in-depth article here that is going to go through all of that. And you'll notice, again, the biggest key here is accessibility. Just like in the JetBoost stuff, okay? JetBoost had a lot of ground to make up on the performance stuff. It looks like this new update addresses that. So, we're going to remove that stuff from the article here. But the accessibility stuff is still a core kind of element. And you'll see tomorrow as we go through the wizardry stuff that the accessibility becomes more and more important. And accessibility is no longer a thing we can ignore when we're building these websites, especially when you're charging money for these. If this is your little personal site and you're just playing around the edges, no big deal. Working for a little boutique shop, a little something over the, not a lot of attention. It just needs to look pretty, whatever. Cool. You want to start doing the big boy websites. You want to start making sure you're hitting all the best practices. You got to start looking at your workload a little bit differently. And so that's the stuff we want to point out. That's what our focus is here at Finsweet, is helping you all try to figure out ways to make money with these tools and to make sure you're protected and using the best practices as you go forward. So anything else on that, Joe?
That's it. Yeah, this was, okay. We have a comment from Jay Cannon in the comments talking about favoriting JetBoost says favoriting. How come no one mentions this? This was completely around filtering. We didn't talk about any other things that we do with attributes. I know JetBoost has a lot of other features. That's not what this is about. It's about filtering. And that's true. To have a filtering count that when you go to a site, you can see the votes of everybody else. Yes, you do need a backend, and you need the server, which is the infrastructure that JetBoost is set up on. What we're working on for attributes is a simplified version of this. Favoriting your own likes. We can build something where you create your own like list. To have it where it's a like list for everybody, that would be something JetBoost offers. A like list just for yourself. I want to favorite these products. I want to save these homes for myself. That is what we will release in attributes probably in the next month or two.
Nice. Okay. Let's see. Anything else coming in? Thanks, guys. So much to chew on for sure. Penny, thank you for all the work. Helps so much understand how these elements work. Makes it easier to sell to clients for sure. Thanks for the in-depth review. Daniel, thank you for tuning in with us. Let's see. Jeremy, same thing. Really appreciate the breakdown. Yeah, learning that DOM stuff was good. So, yeah, Jay Cannon, we get you. You know, like mention a paid service which requires a back end. That's all I'm saying to keep in context. We hear you. And none of this was saying, you know, anything otherwise. We're just showing that there's two different ways and that our service works one way and your service works the other. If you need that type of voting, well, then there's your reason to go pay for JetBoost, right? But if you don't, like a lot of people just need the filtering stuff, hey, you know, you got another option there. And so, yeah, different strokes, different folks. There's not one right way to skin a cat in this business. There's lots of different ways to kind of do these things. So for sure. Okay. And Pablo Cortez says, I believe Timothy Ricks addressed an update for accessibility a while ago. We will see. Tune in tomorrow to find out all about that. So, Ditya, cheers. We'll see you tomorrow as well. Thanks everyone for tuning in. We'll catch you on the flip side. Bye. Okay.